Hi, and welcome to Keen Minds, where we're covering NBC's The Blacklist. We're in Season 5, Episode 11, Abraham Stern. I am Jen, a.k.a. Takata Saiko.
And I am Tessa.
And this was the 100th episode with the number 100 Blacklister. Did you notice that?
I know, it was cute that they did that.
I like it.
I really like the episode.
I did too. I mean, for where we are, Tess and I were discussing before we started recording tonight that you know I've kind of pulled back a little bit, but you know for what it is, for where we are, knowing that I am emotionally compromised on this show, badly emotionally compromised on this show, I enjoyed it. I love Nathan Lane. Nathan Lane will always be Timon to me. As a small child, I was obsessed with The Lion King. And I loved him on The Producers, and Birdcage was the other one that I had forgotten about. I think we were discussing last week what we knew Nathan Lane from. Birdcage was the other one that I've seen him in, that I liked him really well. With the amazing, and miss him so much, Robin Williams. So... But, yeah. I had a lot of hopes for Nathan Lane, and he did not disappoint. I do love that man. He was brilliant in this role.
Yeah, it was a fun episode. I love the fact that they made it into a caper, and they were, this heist and the vacuum. How can you not love an episode where you get Nathan Lane, a giant vacuuming that is sucking up a crime that technically doesn't exist because the notes don't exist?
In the Denver Mint. I mean, come on. And there was a cool little quote that I made note of. It said, or not a quote, but just the comment about when you begin to layer the images on the pennies.
Yes.
And when I was doing my rewatch today, I was thinking about it. I said, I really hope that's the story they're telling. I really hope that they've just pulled one over on me, and then here in a few episodes I go, oh, I just need to layer it. Okay.
This episode was a very, very interesting way. I've seen some series of 100 episodes, and they mess it up terribly by complicating things. So I love that they left this thing nice and fresh. And it was great because it marked one thing that is a very, very, very important thing. Liz pulled one on Red and on Howard.
I don't know if she pulled it on Howard. Red thinks she pulled it on Howard. I don't think she pulled it. Not Howard. Harold.
Harold. I'm sorry. Yeah. I got Howard on my head.
I know.
Yeah. I think she did because otherwise, why would Harold ask?
Well, no, I think she did originally, but then I think that when they were discussing it, I think it clicked with Cooper.
I think at the same point, when they both were like, "Whoa, wait a minute here,
what has happened?" No, but it was, I very much enjoyed her getting one over on Red. That's been a long time coming. And, I mean, it was for, if you forget the dark cloud hanging over it of, everything going on with Liz, it was a lot of fun. The episode was a lot of fun. Yeah,
I love the idea of the treasure hunt, because we did get a little bit of a treasure hunt hinted when we went in Cape May and they found the buried treasure. Well, especially because Cape May has a whole history of being a pirate's cove, and that's it's histories of buried treasures. So it was great when we go back to something similar like that, and it's a heist, and there is a vacuum, and it's just awesome. It was just fun.
Yeah, it was a nice episode. I was a fan. So, do you want to start in? There really wasn't much with Samar or Wrestler. So are we even going to really cover them? Do we want to just start?
I don't think so. I think they're just going to Aram first. Aram was fun. I was so happy to see, and I was glad that she was not as dismissive with Aram as she was with Samar.
See, I didn't find her dismissive with Samar. I actually found the two conversations She was saying the exact same thing. She was just saying it how each individual needed it said. With Samar, she was very blunt. She was very straightforward, which I think Samar respects. And with Aram, she was much gentler. And, I mean, I think, I'm trying to remember the exact quote, but she said that
I'm back. I'm here. I'm not back.
Yeah, but she started kind of easing him into talking about Samar. You know, he wanted to talk about the case, and he starts rambling about it, and, oh, well, I hear things are going well with you and Samar. And so she kind of eased him into that, but it's the exact same thing that she told Samar, just in a different format of saying, I'm not here for the case. I want to hear about boring and domestic.
You're right. But thank God that Aram told her about the case, because that's how she knew how to get her evidence back.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, that's how she knew that they were planning a heist, and then she just called the museum. It was brilliant. And then that scene, well, we'll cover that, but it was so awesome to see. Aram was so happy to see her, and you think that she pulled one around that she was actually looking at the Stewmaker?
Maybe? I mean, because he bent down to get it, so he might have seen what it was. If he did a very good job of hiding that. And
Aram is pretty good at hiding things.
He is.
However, you know, there's some things that he may ramble and reveal, but it's like I always said, he actually found out what the fulcrum was about. He just kept his mouth shut.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not canon. That's extra canon.
That was in the notes.
I know, but that's not considered canon.
Okay.
I mean, it is and it isn't. It's kind of like everything else that's on the side. It's, you know, ish.
Canon-ish.
Ish. I mean, I've discussed with various people what is considered canon, what's not in each show that I watch, because, I mean, to me, canon is very important. I mean, I write some AUs. I love plot divergent AUs, but in the end, canon is what you're there for. And so I'm very particular about what is considered canon and what's not. Mm-hmm. And that's, what ends up airing is canon. Things like deleted scenes, which you and I both love. We have our deleted scenes that we go back to. Yours is the one from season 3. I love some of season 4's deleted scenes, like with them house hunting and Tom talking about basically being Mr. Mom and how frustrated that makes him. And those scenes that they support things in canon, but if you're going back and that's all you're using, you can't. I think they're secondary to canon.
Well, I think that the deleted scenes I put in a different.
Well, I'm just using this as an example. And
because, they're put in the DVD for a reason, because they film for 10 days and they air 43 minutes and then they put some deleted scenes. So I'm thinking those are canon, and I consider the dossier canon.
It is considered canon because someone asked about it and it was confirmed. Like, unless one of the Johns confirms, or one of the writing team confirms that something is considered canon, but there are things in the dossier that don't quite match up, best I remember. But there's a lot of confusion about, and we're getting off topic, but there's a lot of confusion over some things that may or may not be because of the dossier. Like, with the way Tom and Liz met, there's some conflicting information between a couple different places within canon itself, and the dossier just kind of adds to that confusion.
Why you mean?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember what all it was exactly. Just the
not the date.
No, the dates are fine. It's the whole
the place.
No, that's part of it. Is it's New York versus DC. They seem to have some issues with that in the writing team, and I've complained about that since day one. That they seem to bounce and forget that because they film in New York, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's supposed to be in New York.
Well, it wasn't even New York City. They were living in Rochester.
I know, but the place where they met, if you go back and you run the numbers for when Liz would have been in New York with the unit up there, that if you run the numbers,
I know what you mean.
Why did she meet him in Washington D.C.? You know, it just like there are just certain things in there that just don't make sense. But those things were in actual aired canon as well. So, I mean, it's been kind of a confusing sort. There may be an answer to it that just has never been made clear to me. I don't know. But regardless, we're getting well off topic there, though.
Cooper.
Okay, Cooper was fantastic. As always, and he's just... Harry Lennox always brings his A game to every scene that he has. It doesn't matter how short, it doesn't matter how little airtime he gets. The man brings such a powerful moment every time. Never fails.
But to see him laughing at Red the way he was, that was priceless. Because first, I love his laugh. But, I mean, he was just having such a chuckle at imagining that somebody had actually robbed Raymond Reddington.
To be fair, Harry Lennox could continue talking for the rest of my life, and I would probably die a very happy person. I mean, the man's voice is just beautiful.
I know.
I
could have the telephone book read by him and Spader. I would listen to that.
I would too. let's have that done.
Like background music. Like, I'm gonna concentrate. Let me put my book.
I would get distracted.
Oh no, it would be soothing and like, I don't know. So he's laughing at Red, and Red was not amused for once.
And that's what made me even happier.
Yeah, that was, he was just, and he was trying to like, okay, let me tone it down, but that was so much fun.
It's one of those moments you just can't. It's so funny, and you're getting such a kick out of it on such a personal level. And it was brilliant. I loved their ending scene, though. When he says his price for it, or no, well, before that, the thing that I liked was him saying that he always gets his man. Did that stand out to you?
Yes.
Because as it was playing, I looked at the room and I said, that's coming back around. I said, I don't know exactly how yet, and maybe they'll end up after Red at some point in the near future. You know, then I think it might have been you always get... I mean, I know that you always get your man as a phrase, but I don't think they're going to go after Liz. I don't think they have time to. I don't think they will. I may be wrong on that, but it sounded to me with Red saying it that eventually they're going to legitimately go and I don't know.
I read it in a different way, but I think that... I'm putting it together because we have been getting, and I know a lot of people are complaining that we're not getting mythology, we're not getting any canon, we're not getting. I beg to disagree. I think we are. We just don't know that we are.
And that's a possibility because I know that I've had episodes where I'm like, there's nothing here. And then you go back after getting some information, you're like, oh, it's having the key that clicks everything together.
Yeah, it's like putting the you know, you remember there was a time there were some glasses and you put them on and you see something that wasn't there. You took off the glasses, it looked like it was a piece of paper, was nothing. That's what the Blacklist is. It's you put on the right glasses and you see a whole different kind of thing. And maybe a lot of the times, maybe I got the right glasses on. I'm so utterly excited because every episode brings me more and more of that. But this, when I heard that, together with Cooper telling Wrestler that seminal scene in which it says, you know, once this is done, then I'll bring this letter to its appropriate channels. I think that Cooper knows there is a mission to what Red is doing. There is a reason for all of this. He may not be a happy camper doing it. He may have been. There's a part of me that even doubts that he ever left the Navy, truly. I think that he's in some sort of, you know, mission with the FBI. And it was interesting to me because when he said you always get your man, there's a feel that there is somebody out there, and we're starting to see I'm not going to say that he's a number one because I think it's a story, but definitely we're getting to see the big bad. It's beginning to take shape. Yeah, it's beginning to take shape, and that's what it sounded to me.
I mean, it better at this point because we're at the end. I mean, we've got maybe a season left.
We might get 2 if things get, they might be able to stretch to cover without going too crazy. I would love that. I would love 2 because I think 2 will be a lot more fun. I think that 3 is too much.
Oh, no, 3, they definitely don't have 3. They don't have the story for 3. And I don't know.
We'll start it's the X-Files again. It's like, don't go past where you have stories.
Well, they just restarted the X-Files, didn't they?
Oh, I imagine I haven't seen them. To me, they ended, I watch a couple of episodes and then it just...
I've never seen it, so I haven't, I know.
I would recommend seeing a couple of the earlier ones that were really good. But I'm insanely excited because with my glasses... The whole thing is making so much sense now that is ridiculous. I'm so excited. And I think with that, we just got to go now into Abraham Stern.
Reddington and Abraham. I mean, it was just, oh my God. I love Nathan Lane. Have I mentioned that? I love Nathan Lane.
So do I.
He's such a brilliant actor.
Have you seen him in Modern Family? He has a recurring role.
Seen it.
Oh my God, he is so hilarious.
I'm sure he's just brilliant in anything he touches.
He plays like an over the top couple, and then they just. I mean, he just takes things and runs with them, and that he puts everything he has in it, and then he gets these incredibly touching little moments that are just when you're laughing, you go oh. Now, I open my heart and you just stab it in there.
The producers. Have you ever seen?
Yes.
It's.
I've done it in the movie, and I saw it live.
Did you see him on stage?
Oh yeah, I've seen him several times. He's awesome.
New Yorker. You get everything. I'm so jealous. Live in the wrong part of the country. That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah, you love the snow and the ice that is now.
And I hate the heat. And I live in the wrong part of the country. But yeah, Nathan Lane, I was thrilled when I heard he was on. Now, granted, they released that before Tom's death, and so this was the one thing I was looking forward to in the back half of the season. I'm everything else is just dismal, and I'm going, but there's Nathan Lane.
And it delivered. It was a great story. It brought all those things. So the father was trying to avoid him being a criminal, but he ended up being a criminal, not just the same.
They said that the father was trying to avoid it, but there's no proof of that. It was a nice idea that he had but obviously when his father was alive, he didn't have any sort of interest in him. He spent his quote unquote inheritance on candy, didn't he say?
Yep.
And so,
he was upset because he considered the father a failure, and I
feel once he decided that he wasn't a failure and started following this, he sort of idealized him a little bit. And so the idea that his father was trying to keep him from a life of crime by leaving him this, you don't leave your child illegal money and hope that they stay out of the life of crime. It's going, look, this is how you get rewarded.
You do if you know that they have the ability to be so. And eventually you hope that by leaving it to them, it's a very similar thing to what's happening with Liz and Red. Red was hoping that she wouldn't by pushing her aside. Eventually she ended up in law enforcement, and she's very good in law enforcement because there's a very thin line, between the robbers and the coppers. So I found the story compelling. I'm a mystery fan, so what is there not to find? There is a cipher that brings us to the fulcrum. There is the parallel lines, parallels. Yep, everywhere. And pictures that you have to superimpose, and then you get a different thing. So it was almost like you get all these themes, and he's telling you, put them all together. Now start matching them.
Well, that's exactly what I said at the beginning of the podcast, was the layers.
And I gotta say, that idea came straight from Jen, not mine. I'm not taking credit for it.
Thank you. Got credit for something, yay. I did something. I still can contribute to this fandom, yay. I was joking with a friend the other day. I said, my only place in this fandom anymore is the bitter person in the corner crying. I don't like it. So yay, I can still contribute. Fantastic.
Well, we still have one Keen. We have one King, and we gotta root for Liz, because Liz pulled one on Red. So let's go, keep going on Reddington and Stern, because once we go to Liz and the whole thing, and we have Glenn.
Yes, Glenn. I love Glenn. Bless Glenn.
That scene was awesome.
Oh my god. Okay, awesome. hang on. We gotta finish Red and Abraham. Yeah. I know how much you want this, because I do too, but we have to finish Red and Abraham. No, I loved their chemistry that they had together. That as angry as I am at Reddington right now, as much trouble as I had being, because normally when Red would get that excited about something and go on an adventure and, have all of this goofy fun times, I'd be like, yay, Red's happy, let this man be happy. I've been cheering for 4 seasons, let this man be happy. And now I'm just like, you have no right to be happy. I'm very vindictive, apparently. Things I learned about myself.
It's I've seen. I mean, it's very funny to me, because I'm a big Red fan, and I've seen the fandom do these fun things where sometimes it's like already it's like a god, and others is. And I saw a lot of people get. I saw very, very dear friends who have been super fans in not 1 but 2 and 3 social media, commenting daily on things, completely get off the wagon when he shot Mr. Kaplan.
It came close for me. You remember how angry I was with him. And I made the comment at the time, I said he might be able to come back from this. And when he turned around and chose not to do it, when he started and that's always my thing with him. He has to take responsibility. It's one of the things he doesn't do well, because, and I understand that the place that he's in, the life that he lives, that's not exactly something he does often, because he's got to survive. But in this situation, and James did a brief interview the other day where he said that Red doesn't feel guilty because he feels like he gave Tom enough explanation. And I completely believe James that Red feels that way. I think that he thinks it's that way. Mm-hmm. And I'm just sitting there going, I would be much less angry with Red right now if, one, he knew why he was keeping the secret. He was able to articulate, that was the point that broke with me. He was not able to articulate to Dembe, who knows everything. And so... a reason.
The reasons is fear or shame?
Yes, but he cannot articulate why this is so important. And that thing that he can't articulate got his son-in-law killed. So he's involved in it. Liz is miserable. She's living this miserable, dark life. And he's out there buying a frickin' castle. Mm-hmm. I'm really angry at him right now.
Yeah, well, it was very interesting to me because one of the comparisons that I've been drawing recently between Red and Liz is that they both have one trait in common. They will not look at something until they're ready to do or until their nose is pushed into it. I mean, Liz was pregnant. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, pregnancy test. Oh, we'll throw that out. And, he might be my father, but you know what? Let's just not talk about it. Yeah, I better not inquire. I made a couple of half-hearted inquiries, but you know what? Better not answer. And that's it. And Red is the same thing. Would he have admitted to kill Sam if Tom hadn't given Liz the picture? No. Would he have even given any information about Liz's mother if Dembe hadn't sent Liz to the apartment? No. They're exactly the same.
Close. They are close to the same. It's the same root. The difference is that Liz's tends to affect herself. And, by the way, when it started affecting other people, like with Agnes, when she was trying to, push Agnes off on an adoption agency and such, Tom was there to pull her back around and say, this is not just about you. This is about all three of us now. Because there is a third, it's now about all three of us. And so she, for the most part, most of her decisions like that to just go, oh, I'm just going to ignore this, which I agree. She 500% does that. Same as Red does. But hers tends to be about herself. His, because that third's already there, it's the lesson that Tom was able to help Liz learn. Red never had a Tom in his life, for lack of a better phrasing. And his reaction like that hurts Liz. And that's where he needs to learn.
Well, I do think that there is a third that could have helped. But the reason why Tom was able to help Liz with that is because Liz has one element in her character that is not from Red.
Forgiveness.
Yes. And that element is what makes, we were talking when Tom died, how you felt that, you have to have hope and you have to make better choice. And I was telling you, I think you can do a change, but you can't do a radical change of who you are, but you can do small things. And that is Liz's small thing. That is the part of her that is very different from Red, is that forgiveness. And that forgiveness allowed her to open the door to Tom. Tom helped her go into a different frame of mind. And now without Tom, and now that she had to get Agnes out of her life, that means that now she's now becoming more Red. And we still don't know much about Katerina. All we know from Katerina is Katerina seen through the eyes of somebody, but we don't have a direct experience of Katerina.
The closest we've had was the journal, and that, while it can be trusted on a level, it can't be trusted entirely because it's a spy writing a journal.
Yeah, to tell the husband how exactly she was so happy that Liz was a girl because she would not inherit a disease that she could not inherit because she wasn't the daughter of the deceased man. So I don't trust any of the diary. I think that she's talking about like she's estranged from her father. She wasn't estranged from her father. The Dom says that he had to step away to keep Liz safe. So up until whatever time she left, she was estranged from her father. So that diary to me is a pack of lies. She was just very good at it, which Liz is also good at it. But we still don't know that, and that is interesting to see. What part from her does Liz have, other than being, obviously, as I was saying today in a post, what part of Red thought that it was a good idea to get a straight young male to look after his daughter that is the daughter of a notorious spy?
2.
Yes, 2. Correct.
There was Tom 1.0 and Tom 2.0 that lasted less time than Tom.
Yeah, and now he's rotting in some jail.
Poor guy. I'm blanking on his name.
Ezra.
Ezra, thank you. I was like, it starts with an E. That's all I remembered. But poor Ezra. I mean,
Gina Zanetacos was his option. Get a straight female or get a gay male. Don't get a stray male or a gay female, because that's not going to end up well.
I don't know if Gina, like, I have nothing to prove this, but I could totally see Gina being bi.
She would probably.
But she was also better at keeping her emotions out of the job itself. Not when it came to Tom, not when it came to Jacob, but everything else I think she was for the most part.
I mean, that would have been a better alternative.
Yeah.
What the heck was he thinking? If Tom was the first one that he hired. Because I've had my little suspicions about the other two, the Ronnie and the grifter. I don't know. Something about this doesn't seem to me that Red could keep his paws out of his daughter's life. He was an overprotective dad, and maybe at a distance, but that doesn't change much.
True. Anyway, back to Abraham and Reddington. And so, yeah, I mean, we've talked a bit about the sucking the money out and all of that and the distrust. I was very, very happy to see them work together, even for a little bit, just because you got to see that dynamic and you got to see two amazing actors work together in that chemistry.
So excited about the cipher and the code and the mountains.
I mean, it was Red found someone. It's like walking out into the park in the afternoon and striking up a conversation with a stranger and finding out, oh, you're a Blacklist fan? Oh, your favorite character is so-and-so? That's mine too. And suddenly you found your freaking fandom soulmate. And that's kind of what Red found, was his criminal soulmate.
They were, for a little moment, they were both like little kids that, instead of being two criminals, they were two little kids in a shed outside, in a secret club, reliving, this little book that they both read, and they're finding the stuff. It was beautiful to see, because it had that they're going to betray one another. As Red says, it's in nature, we're criminals. But it was just fun to see. And fun to see that Red expected to be betrayed.
Yeah, and just the same, he had his own betrayal set up.
Yep.
The question would be if he would have screwed over
I don't think
Abraham.
he would have. I think it was a proof. He was happy with the 50%.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you're right. I want to hope you're right. I'm also really angry at Red, so my judgment's a bit off with him.
Abraham Stern stopped being fun when he shot the guy who was helping him. That was cold.
Well, I mean, Red came in long after that, though.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying that part was like, whoa, you are really heartless because you're fun.
See, yeah. I never blinked at that. I was like, as soon as the cops rolled up, I went, "Oh man, you're dead."
I knew that he was dead too, but he said you didn't need to do that because you could have bought his silence like Red does, and that is a difference with Red.
I think that's inaccurate, just because Red has the reputation. I don't think Abraham had that reputation. I think he was completely in the shadows because he's very singular in what he was looking for. Mm-hmm. Red has an empire. Abraham had one thing that he was looking for, and he was very good at it, but he didn't have an entire empire to back up the threats. And so, you're right. I mean, you're looking back to the I'm blanking on, but the criminal families that got married, that whole thing about
the Vaccaros and the Erickson.
Yeah, but when you had Adrian Monk was his name on the other team.
Yeah. Alistair Pitt.
Yeah, thank you. I'm like, not Adrian. That's Adrian Monk. But when you had Alistair Pitt saying, I can make this happen because if you betray the other one, I can kill you. Now, if Abraham had the
Which
backup...
goes back to the courier saying we replace trust with fear. Okay.
And that's, I mean,
that's
if Abraham had that kind of backup, he could have. And would have. You don't know. I mean, but he didn't have that sort of goal. He thought small. He had the.
Well, it wasn't that small, but yeah, it was.
No, it was. In the grand scheme of things, it was very small because
he just wanted his inheritance.
He could have had an empire. He had the intelligence level, the IQ, and the personality type to have an empire like Red's. He was on par with Red if he had chosen to be, but he didn't. All he wanted was his inheritance, and so no, I don't think he could have bought the silence because I don't think you could. Money doesn't. You can buy some people with money. Other people, they have to fear for their lives. And that, and when you have that question there, yeah, I knew the guy was dead. Like, that never crossed my mind that he was going to do anything other. Because the cops were involved, just like you said.
Yeah. What did you think about that scene when he goes to the museum?
Oh,
it was awesome.
It was beautiful. That was glorious. I'm like,
and the guy is like,
he was just so chill about the whole thing. I mean, he was,
and he pulled it off.
Yeah, he was so awesome. And no, I loved Abraham.
He had that charm thing that Red does. And he turned on the charm, and they were like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. The guy can't even pronounce a word. He's supposed to be an insurance agent, but he can pronounce. It's all right."
And that's exactly what I mean. He was on par with Red, but he chose to go small when Red chooses to go big.
Yeah. The face that he put in when he realized that they're sucking everything, and he is going to jail. That was so much fun. He's like, I had it. I saw it.
It was right there. Yes, it was beautiful.
Well, that's what happens
when you
spend your inheritance on candy.
Yeah, come on, dude. Have some forethought, 16-year-old self, I mean, oh, no, I mean, I'm so glad they got Nathan Lane to play that character because I can't imagine anybody else pulling that off.
Yeah, well, that happens with most of the blacklisters. Once they get in the role, is you cannot really do a substitution in your mind because it would be like, no, they're perfect. They're perfect. I mean,
the ones that stand out, yeah.
Ansel Garrett, hitting the hill. Come on, play out with me. That was,
exactly.
Nobody is going to ever do that in the same exact way that had me like, I really like this guy. He's evil, but I love him.
Exactly. Play with me, Red. Yeah.
Did you notice all we're getting all this parallels to the Fulcrum with the cipher and the lines and all this, the secret stuff. I thought it was great. And you had to have the four of them together.
Okay, are we moving into Liz?
We are moving into Liz, also known as the Stewmaker.
Stewmaker 2.0.
Yeah.
She's prettier.
Stewmaker.
She's prettier.
Yeah. Yeah. She looks good when she shaves. The Stewmaker didn't.
No, sorry. Oh my gosh. So originally I thought that it was the same hotel room. When I watched it, I think it was the music going on, but it was the red because the hotel room. Because I went back and looked at the scene from season 1. It wasn't even. I thought the original bathtub was a heart bathtub, but it wasn't.
It's just red.
It was just red, and so it was still nice. Honestly, it might have been a bit over the top to have done the exact same one, but it was nice that they had that callback.
That little red, that's the little things that they put in there.
It was very subtle, but it was very nice. I liked it.
And it was a heart.
Which is so twisted. There's some sick people on that team.
We love it. Keep it going.
Oh my gosh!
That was hilarious. And there she is with a tank top, and she's pouring this stuff, and then she's just like moving it.
So excited when they started playing the music though, because it's the same song. And the roomie was sitting there and watching. I went, oh my god, gosh, same song. And she's just looking at me like, you are crazy. What is wrong with you?
I was like, yay, they brought it back.
I was so freaking excited. Because, I mean, the Blacklist has always had just phenomenal music. I have so many playlists that have come about from the Blacklist.
But I have things to say before we get to the top.
Okay.
I don't know if you notice, but we got this great nod to redemption. There it is. Liz is in the closet. There is a dead body. The hand is out.
I saw it. I'm just like, oh, honey, why you zipped him up? Why did you not shove the hand in there?
And you remember? And then she puts the thing in the. So it was like, oh my God, this is a nod to that great scene in Redemption where Solomon is going at the foot with the guy's hand, and like meanwhile they're talking about. And the cops are like, there's nothing to be seen here. Let's get out of here.
Oh, I honestly would. I mean, she didn't have anybody to play off for that, but I guess I understand why she did what she did, but why couldn't she have just said that she was the maid? That she was there to
because
clean.
it would have been seen.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, nobody saw her. The place is clean. And other than the rack that she stuffed, well, it's the first time. You're gonna make rookie mistakes.
That's true.
Yeah, you can't expect to be perfect.
So Sinclair, he is either dirty or crazy good at his job, but he's a dead man walking either way. I don't know.
He's dirty. I don't. No. Let me phrase that. I don't think he's dirty. I think he's being used. He reminded me of Detective Wilcox with the Harbor Master.
He does remind me of
obsessive.
Now that you say it.
And good, and his voice was not the voice that called Garvey. It was the voice of the Internal Affairs cop, the one that had is Frank Sturgeon.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't gone back and listened to that closely, but he's either a dirty cop or he's crazy good at his job, but either way, he's a dead man walking.
Yeah, Gale 2.0. Now Liz got the Gale.
At least Gale got to walk free. He's off somewhere, sipping martinis somewhere or something. Yeah. They haven't told me.
I have a little theory about the task force and Gale. That Red always chose a task force because he needed them to be good cops, but by the book, in order that they wouldn't catch him. Because if they're by the book, he can predict what they're going to do, which is what Liz did this time. She predicted that if you put the robbery while it's happening, it's going to go in there. She knew the procedures. She could play of them. And I think that Gale was the little cog in the machinery because he was actually able to put himself in Red's head and he could catch Red.
Yeah, I miss Gale. I'm very. Yeah. I have no idea what happened there because we talked to the actor and we're talking about getting him on the show and it just kind of fluttered away.
I have a feeling it was a change of storylines.
Maybe. He seemed very upset on Twitter. I have no idea. I have no clue what the deal was, but whatever it was seemed to be very sudden and that he... I kind of got the impression he felt gypped by it, which is possible. I mean, it could be that they basically said, hey, you want to come in for season 5? Oh, never mind, just kidding. And so,
something happened between season 4 and season 5, and I think there was a little adjustment of. It may be that they without even saying it, and I wouldn't expect them to say they know that they got 1 or 2 or whatever season left, and that forced them to do a little trimming of storylines.
I can't help but wonder. I mean, it may just be that John's BSing his way through life. I don't know, but I always feel like he's so super chill about everything that he that he's got somebody that knows, that gives him a lot more heads up than anybody else has, that he kind of has a general idea.
So I love that list. Did you notice that she went in a closet with little slats?
Yes, I did. I did notice that immediately.
So it was a lot of fun to see her like that, and she was pretty hurt. I mean, that gotta hurt.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes that they kind of. I follow a blog on Tumblr that's medical. It's Script Medic is what it's called, and it's for medical writing. She's fantastic, but following her blog and reading what I've read about it, I see so much stuff that happens on TV that's just, oh, it's on TV, no one's gonna ask about this. I'm like, that's not how it works. She needs to go to the hospital. She may have internal bleeding that was really deep.
Yeah, that was really bad.
And so
I think that we may see Ellie back.
But
maybe Ellie's back talking to her.
She just waltzes out without stitches or anything and is like walking around everywhere. And I'm going, that's not how that works. But they did that with Tom. They've done it with every character that they do these crazy things to him. And that's just TV. You just have to kind of let some stuff go. She
might have learned to get stitches.
Well, she did, because she sewed the guy up in the first episode back for the back half of the season. Yeah, she does stitches. So she probably did it to herself. But still, it just... I mean, potentially internal bleeding.
That was a good half an inch.
It was past the muscle barrier there. I mean, but if nothing else, torn muscles. Good heavens. She doesn't have any fat on her. The woman is like all muscle and nothing else. And so something I thought was interesting, and this is going to be my slight nudge hard to Red's ribs at this point. I said it was funny that he said that he was asking her to avoid her darker impulses, but I need your help with this. Suddenly it's important to me, so I need you to ignore my advice to you and give in to your darker impulses to help your dad.
Well, I mean, I think for Red, darker impulses is go killing people. Stealing is good.
He straight up said that he wanted her to ignore his advice on that and to help him with this. I mean, it was so selfish. It goes back to that whole self-indulgent thing that I've got an issue with lately.
Red has a favorite thing that he calls, whenever he tells somebody that they have a unique opportunity, that means a hugely distasteful thing that somebody's got to do so that he can benefit from.
Yup.
And he always calls it like that, unique opportunity. Almost reminds me of those salesmen, like, this is perfect.
He is. He's a salesman.
Because I need it.
Oh, but so something that I really loved was the passive packet sniffer. Because...
Yes.
And I gotta have my moment because I can still contribute to this fandom. I can.
Yay!
So I've talked about multiple times before how I love how they drop little lines that talk about how the Keens have these conversations. That they can't do everything on air, and they've got 40-something odd minutes, to air this show every week, and they just can't have every conversation on air. And even if they did, they would, then it would become the Tom and Liz show, and that was never what it was meant to be. And so I've always liked how they sort of indicate stuff without having to straight up say it. They've always been very good about that. And it was just another nod towards that, where she talked about how Tom taught her how to use this. Now, she's aware that the FBI uses it as well, but she specified that Tom taught her this. And so that means that they sat around and he taught her spy traits. More than just, if you need to distract him, sneeze. And I loved that. I'm picturing them sitting there late at night, Agnes is in bed, and her picking his brain over various little spy traits that she can use to do her job better. And him just being like, I get to talk to my favorite person in the world about my favorite thing to do in the world, and this makes me the happiest man in the world. And I just picture Tom so freaking excited like he was in season 2 when he was able to give her that little bit of advice and connect with her on that level. And I'm picturing them. Agnes is in bed. They're having these conversations, and it makes me so freaking happy. And then I'm going to ignore the fact that they killed him.
And I love the fact that those are things that we also can connect with the stuff that he inherited from his father. And I hope that one day, they connect. I would love to see, her and Aram kind of discuss Tom.
Yeah, I'd love Tom to come back and discuss it with Rom. Can we have that?
I know they keep saying no, and I'm saying, I could see. I guess there's a little part of me that is saying, I don't know.
I don't trust either way anymore, and so I'm kind of just trying to see if I can find places.
Jimmy Hoffa disappeared.
That was so weird.
Yes. That was
okay,
weird.
At least I'm not the only one that felt like that was the weirdest person ever to name. Okay. Like, they do these little things. It's like, I know you know what you're doing, you jerk.
Yep, I know.
Because I didn't know who that was off the top of my head, so I had to go Google him. Because it's just the fact that he gave a name, you always, if you don't know who they're talking about, if it's John, you Google the name. I Googled the name, and I'm like, this dude disappeared.
There was somebody just sent me this Misha 19.
I know, yeah.
And she said, the John said that the name Scott is because his mother's, her mother-in-law's maiden name. I knew that.
I think he does have someone in his family with the name Scott that he.
Yeah, his mother-in-law. That was his mother-in-law who died, a few years ago. Maiden name. And I know that she came from Hastings, and that's why there are Hastings all over the Blacklist. Still, that's not answering why the same name for Elizabeth and her mother-in-law. That's answering why Scott, not why the same name on both. So people tend to
yeah, but you got the cousins thing, and you were never going to sway me on the cousins thing. I will believe.
So we're going to do if it happens.
I don't think it will. I am more willing to accept the possibility of Carla being Katarina, other than Carla or Katarina and Scotty being sisters or cousins or what have you.
But that is, that is a cultural thing.
Yes, in the culture that the show is happening in. And so, yes, it is.
That still remains, and nobody has answered why they have the same name.
But doesn't
they
mean
have answered why the name.
This is not Game of Thrones. This is
We're
not
a long way
I love
from
Game of Thrones, but this is not Game of Thrones. Oh my gosh,
we're far away from him.
Huh?
We are so far away from Game of Thrones.
We are. And it's we'll see. I mean, time will tell on every theory that's out there. Even, like, some of the craziest theories I've heard. I'm like, I don't believe you. I will never believe you. But maybe eventually time will tell.
Yeah. Well, I think that for crazy, I'll give you mine. I know 2 people that believe it. 2 in all fandoms, me and somebody else, and that somebody else doesn't believe all of it, but it's the closest that comes to. So yeah, I mean, for crazy, mine takes the cake.
Yeah.
If I am correct, the Johns can proceed, sell ahead, because nobody believes it. Nobody. I mean, people talk to me like I'm crazy. Well, we'll see. Maybe I am. Time will tell.
Well, mostly good crazy. It's okay.
Thank you.
Mostly good.
Yeah, and you wrote something that you would be worried that the next end was spying on them, because it's like if he was wearing that, that means that he knows exactly who killed him. And where is Red?
He was wearing it. But the biggest thing was, it's kind of like when you look for, I mean, I'm a paranoid sort. The only reason I don't have tape over my personal laptop is because it remains closed and linked to a monitor that doesn't have a camera on it. And then the only time it's open, I'm using the camera to talk to Tessa for the podcast. But I'm one of those paranoid sorts that I don't like to have cameras that are open around me because it makes me very nervous. I know a lot of people that way. Apparently, I'm not in the oddball realm of that. That's actually a fairly normal thing to be paranoid about.
Yeah, I'm super paranoid about that. But let me get some.
No, hang on. But that's where I'm going with the eye. Is that little you look for the light to see if someone's hacking your computer to watch you. There was a little red light that just wouldn't stop. And I'm just going, why are you talking around this thing? Smash it. Like, I would be so careful.
At least put it in a
soundproof, keep it covered.
Something, yeah.
Soundproof jar and cover it with a non-see-through cover there.
Or the IFD protected or whatever.
I don't even know. Just don't there was a red light. That means something in it is still active. It doesn't have to be connected. If there is a light on and it's not plugged into a source, obviously something is still going and potentially transmitting. What are you doing, Elizabeth?
Yeah. The thing is, now I'm going to make the connections that I made. I do remember that I consider very peculiar in the last episode that he comes Detective Singleton, who actually tells Liz. Liz arrives on a day. 2 days later, Detective Singleton is there. But before Detective Singleton is at her apartment, Ian Garvey receives a phone call that says, "Let it play out. I'll manage it on my end." And here it comes. Detective Singleton comes into the apartment, takes a look at everything that she's doing, and instead of being actually worried about the man that he doesn't know who it is, the man with the knife that stabbed him, he's concerned about who took you to the hospital, and who killed the man in here. That's what he's concerned about. But he does something very strange. He tells her about the corner in particular where the Nash Syndicate was dealing. And then Liz goes there. And what they were doing, they were pointing her towards Navarro. Because Navarro, that's how Garvey was getting his information, through the eye. Why on earth this guy, they pull him in and then they let him go? Obviously because he was supposed to be bait, a tether goat. And he was a tether goat. He's bait. They left him out there, and with the eyes transmitting, he knows exactly who killed him.
He's a dead goat.
Yep. Well, that's what happened with goats left tether in a field.
Well, it'll be interesting. Something I just need to make a comment on. For anybody that has seen the movie Mr. Right, I was totally jamming out to the song Just My Type because one of my favorite actors was in Mr. Right, and that's the reason I watched it. A writer that I like, Max Landis, and he was the writer on it, and maybe the director as well. But Michael was in the movie. But the whole movie is about an assassin that grows a conscience, and so he starts killing the people that hires him. It's a great movie, highly recommended. But anyway, at the beginning, while the titles are playing, it's Just My Type, and so he's like dancing through this and like going to kill the person that hired him to commit homicide, and so this song starts playing, and I went, It's the Mr. Right song. I was so excited. It's just the music in this one was off the charts. I loved it. The music was great. I mean, for the 100th episode, it was just really good. And they cut down so much of the music for the show, which every show does. I mean, you have to cut it to fit and everything. They played so much of the song. It was so exciting.
I have one more thing that I'd like to discuss, which is, Reddy's buying himself a castle. Yeah, chess. The rook is a castle.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking. But
yeah, bishop. Yeah. So we're getting more chess references. You know, you get excited over the music in Mr. Right. I get excited over chess.
Books and music. What can I say?
I get excited over the parallels and the symbols. Semiotics is big for me. And then he gets Churchill's hat. And I am amazed because maybe a couple months ago, somebody was saying, isn't there a little weird thing with Churchill and Red, you know, with the three-piece suits and the hat? And we were like, you know, there was a little going on in there. Like, we wonder what it is. I don't
see the three-piece, because, I mean, that's just classy. You know, the three-piece suits are just classy. A lot of men over history have worn three-piece suits. But
now Red bought Churchill's hat. So the fact that somebody was talking about
it's interesting, but
and is going to the British theme that is being running, and it's one of my latest one that I found. Now I have to go and look at clocks because I realized that that's another thing running through. So
I had trouble with the hat because I love Winston Churchill, and I kind of like Red said, he goes, you know, not worthy of it, and I'm like, no, you aren't. You know, I was really upset. I was like, take that hat off. You are not worthy.
But he put it on, and it's an interesting thing because he was distrusted by the Americans, and they decided to trust Stalin. That did not work out well. Yeah, so the parallels are, and there's a British theme going around, and I keep telling people, Don's accent is actually Scottish or Irish, but one thing is Russian. And nobody's going to put a fake Irish accent to hide a Russian accent. So, and he says nappies, and he says Mother of God.
I don't know.
So, just putting it out there that there is a British theme going on. So you can head to my page if you're interested in the crazy side of the Blacklist.
If you want to go to the bitter side and or like the other fandoms that have taken over my page.
Well, Jen analyzes the stuff. It's not crazy stuff. My stuff goes in crazy stuff. If you're interested, head out over there. I analyze all the British clues and the Russian clues and the themes of the children in danger. And then again, it's Tom Keene. It's not Tom Jones. It's Tom Keene. And the tombstone says King Tom. Make what you will.
That's how tombstones
There is no room downstairs. There is no room in the bottom. There is no room on the top. It's all occupied by King Tom.
Yes,
Just
because
saying.
the plot next to him would be Liz, where it would say Queen Elizabeth. That's how it happens. That's how tombstones work.
I have a question for you. Do you think that Agnes will grow up? Because I think that we both have a very good feeling that it's very likely that Liz will not.
No, you have
ever
that feeling.
Be able to get Agnes back.
You have
just
that
because
feeling.
Okay.
I do not. I would like to
I have
very
that
clear that one out. You have that feeling.
Okay.
I say if that happens, I'm going to revolt.
Okay. Before we revolt, do you think that Agnes is going to be known as Agnes Keene or Agnes Hargrave? She will be safe as Agnes Hargrave.
I think it depends on how things end.
No, but now, I mean, right now,
I don't know.
she's going to take her.
I don't know.
And what do you think that she's going to do? Like say, oh, this is my daughter, my granddaughter, Agnes Hargrave, or I just adopted this child and I'm going to name her Hargrave. Because I think it's interesting that we're going back to names.
I don't think she specifically needs to tell anybody. I mean, she may just hide the kid away. Nobody may know. The
kid's going to eventually go to school.
Yeah, maybe, unless she homeschools her.
Yeah.
She might hide her away in a corner somewhere. I really don't know. I don't have an opinion on that.
I find it very interesting. Because it's, it's like we ended up with her real name.
Yeah, it is kind of ironic, though. All right, so does that about wrap us up?
That's about wrap us up.
All right, we kept it a little shorter this time. So you can catch us on Tumblr, on Twitter, and Facebook, and you can listen to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes.
And until next time, I'm very excited about the next one. Some are in danger. Looks fun.
We'll see you next week. Bye.